O vídeo que você clicou já vai começar, mas antes, deixe seu like, compartilhe e se inscreva no canal. TV Flórida, a sua TV brasileira nos Estados Unidos.
Eduardo Bolsonaro, President Trump, when he comes in hard. He put out a True Social today that's a brutal takedown of Morales. I know the guy that you have stood up as your father's on trial in this very unjust situation and really called out Morales. President Trump went right there and said Brazil is doing a terrible thing on the treatment of former President Bolsonaro. President talks about watching it, says it's terribly unfair, and that there are going to be consequences. He wants the witch hunt against your father to stop. And he says the only contest they should be talking about is a contest where your father is eligible, not just put in prison, but also where they're trying to kill him, but actually have a race where he can be, that he can get in. He's beaten Lula like a drum right now in the polling, and the reason that that's why they've got him on trial. The only thing in this I disagree with President Trump, because it's brilliantly written. He does say the last election was lost. We in the war room are absolutely adamant the election was stolen from Bolsonaro by these communist Marxist criminals of Lula and Morales actually worse than Lula. Your thoughts, sir, today as President Trump finally makes a very public announcement. I understand in Brazil, Lula's already responded to it, that in Brazil it's created a firestorm, sir.
Yeah, things in Brazil are really on fire. Everybody's talking about this post of President Trump, and it's bringing a lot of hope to the people because everybody in Brazil believes that we do not have tools anymore inside of the country to fight back against this lawfare. Because it's not only about Bolsonaro, for sure. My father, he's leading the polls. Even some polls says that if the election was today, he would beat Lula at the first round, which means that he has more than 50% of the votes of the country. But you have hundreds and hundreds of people in jail because of protests that went too far, our January 8th of 2023, and some other people that are under persecution. You have journalist exiles here that are living in exile here in the United States, as Alan dos Santos, Rodrigo Constantino, Paulo Figueiredo, judges, me, the most voted ever congressman in the history of Brazil. I'm living now here in the United States because I cannot go back home because this judge, he was threatening to seize my passport, and the thing is, they were talking that it was because of the connections that I had here inside of the Congress and the White House, which means that they are declaring the United States government as a criminal organization. So this is very serious. And more than that, you have even the censorship cases. This man, the judge, Moraes, the justice from the Supreme Court, he also issued arrest warranty against an American citizen because posting from the U.S. soil. So what else do you need to show to the world that this guy he needs to be stopped? Someone have to stop him, and we really hope that Trump can do that through OFAC sanctions.
Let's talk about the OFAC sanctions, because Morales is one of the worst people on the world stage right now, and he must be dealt with. Talk to me about what's so important about, because people should know there's a lot of activity going on behind the scenes. Why is it so important to get an OFAC sanction against Morales and some of these criminals in Lula's government, sir?
Because in the Supreme Court of Brazil, we have 11 justices, and no one believes that the other 10 justices, despite that some of them are supporting and backing Moraes for all of these actions, no one believes that they could get the censorship flag and go on. Some of them, they are going a couple of years, they are going to be retired. No one wants to go to be retired and live with sanctions on them. So we really believe that OFAC sanctions is the right medicine against these virus. But the problem is, if United States, if the Trump administration thinks they take a little bit longer, then the regime will be consolidated, and it will be really hard to apply these sanctions with some effects. I mean, it would be like Venezuela. In Venezuela nowadays, you can apply sanctions and it does not change the things. In Brazil, we are still in a moment that these sanctions could stop they to become so aggressive against their political opponents.
And you should know that there's a huge undertaking here in the United States to make sure this happens. We think the criminal element down in Brazil that's, look, we're convinced stole the election, should be brought to justice. And the first way to do it is not let them have access to the United States of America. Also bring sanctions against them. We have to do that. And we're pushing, the war room's pushing very hard for that to happen. Eduardo, I'd like you to stay through the break, and Paulo, stay through the break. I've got Noor bin Laden, have Joe Allen in Geneva. Jack Basoba is going to join us. Mark Caputo from Axios is going to share amazing revelations about the CIA. I know that may shock some people. Also, Netanyahu, I think, is about to show up at the White House. There's going to be a dinner tonight. Not a lot of fanfare about it. I want to go to one thing. I got about a minute here, Eduardo. If for any reason your father can't run, and the whole purpose of what we're trying to do is to make sure that he can run, but it's quite interesting. I just saw a poll this afternoon, sir. Eduardo, you also are leading Lula. Any observations on that? I tell you what, hang on. I want that observation to come after the break. So we have President Bolsonaro is leading Lula. That's why he's on trial, because this is the way they do it, just like here in the United States, like they did in France. They can't win at the ballot box. They have to either steal elections or try to jail their opponents. This is throughout the world. But what's most fascinating in the Great Awakening in Brazil, Eduardo now leads Lula. And Lula's down there showing his true Marxist nature, trying to unite these enemies of the West and the enemies of the Judeo-Christian West and the enemies of the United States on this BRICS. And President Trump sent a shot across the bow of Morales, and he sent a shot across the bow of Lula. He said, hey, brother, anybody that teams up on this, I'm going to add another 10% on tariffs. See if you guys can exist like that. Don't think a lot of folks when we sign up for the BRICS, as Philip Patrick told you today, at Birch Gold, they're trying to get around, keep the de-dollarization movement under a lid. The President of the United States came out as hard as I've ever seen him, and he basically put Morales on notice. I got my eye on you, right? I don't like what you're doing, and, you know, you're not going to do it to this guy. You're not going to throw him in prison when this is all about you. This is all about electoral politics. One more time, Eduardo, your thoughts, and particularly the fact that not only is your father leading in the polls, and this is why Lula, the Marxist and the CCP puppet, one of the reasons that she didn't come, what was the reason she said he didn't need to go to Brazil? He said, I've had Lula here twice in the last couple of months. I don't need to see him anymore. I've given him his orders. He knows what he's got to do. Not only does your father lead, Eduardo, but you also now lead Lula. Your thoughts, sir?
Yes, it shows a lot that the idea is alive. It doesn't matter what they are going to do with Jair Bolsonaro. Like, people really want someone from Bolsonaro family, or really a right-wing one, to lead the country again, because now they are realizing that Lula is not for real. Lula, he had a good background in the mind of the poor people, because when he was president at his first and second term, he had so lucky that China was buying everything from Brazil, all the soft commodities, the prices were going up. So he had the money enough to do quite some assistencialist programs. But nowadays that we do not have that money, and again, people is realizing that he's not delivering what he promised during the campaign. Like, he said clearly that he was going to bring back again to the people's life the barbecue of the weekend, but nowadays the meat is really expensive. That's why I also believe that Lula da Silva, he's not going to be successful trying to build a narrative saying that, oh, Brazilians, let's go, everybody stick together against a foreign enemy, go home, Yankees. He cannot do that, because the real life of the people is really bad. And it's so bad that even Bolsonaro or his son, me, we are leading the polls. And for sure, on the next polls, the numbers will be even better to us. So this is a dead government, and there is no way that they keep in power next year. The only way that they have to do not let someone from the right wing, from the Bolsonaro family, to get elected is going through the courts. Without the courts, they are going to be swept from the political scenario of Brazil.
Eduardo, you're here because they would essentially arrest you and try to do the same thing to you if you went back to Brazil. This is how much they fear the Bolsonaro family and the movement that you've inspired in Brazil, like President Trump has inspired the America First and the MAGA movement here in the United States. You're a hero. If people knew the effort that this man did for his father and his country every day, they would just be overwhelmed with what a patriot you are for your country and for your citizens, sir. It's been very inspiring to me. Where do people go to keep up with your story on social media?
Thank you very much, Steve. On social media, and most of the social medias, I am Bolsonaro SP in the end. And I really appreciate your words. I'm living in exile now in Texas because if I go back to Brazil, they are going to put me around 12 years in jail. Now I'm under investigation in Brazil. They just opened a new investigation, accusing me of the crime of the violent abolition of the rule of law, only because Secretary Rubio said that probably they were going to sanction Alexandre de Moraes, this crazy justice from our Supreme Court.
Eduardo, fight on. Thank you so much for joining. And President Trump, I think, came in and threw down as hard as he could possibly throw. So it's a great day for Brazil, great day for the Bolsonaro movement, and a great day for freedom everywhere.
Thank you very much, Steve. I appreciate you.
Se você chegou até aqui, é um bom sinal. Para assistir os vídeos completos, acesse nosso site ou baixe nosso aplicativo totalmente grátis.